So Soul Man is about an aging, washed-up soul singer-songwriter who had a brief career of some acclaim in the late 60s, early 70s, but when we find him in our story, it's present day. He's still in Memphis. He never quite made it, and he's just sort of struggling to come to terms with his past, and whether or not he's been successful as an artist, as a person, what does that mean, and where did things go wrong?
Where the inspiration for this story came, because when I first saw the film, I was like, that could be a Temptation, that could be Fifth Dimension, any of the other, African-American Motown singers of the day. Where did this inspiration come from?
So the very specific person that inspired it was a guy named Ben Colley, who played horns for Otis Redding and was a Stax company member, essentially, played on a lot of legendary Stax records. I got to meet him about 4 or 5 years ago through a friend who's a local musician, and talking with Ben just about his life and career and the brief interaction that we had, I was really struck by this guy's life story. He was the sole survivor of the plane crash that killed Otis Redding and the band. But he just loved music, he just loved playing music. And he's like a obviously naturally gifted musician, and was one of those people that set the Stax sound, that we would refer to it as now. And I don't know, I'm kind of obsessed with people's career trajectories and how those things line up with their life events, and the idea of kind of a fading, not quite successful artist later in life was just something that was really appealing to me, tying that into what I learned about Ben, and there's just a lot of Bens, like you're saying. This could have been about kind of any of these types of people, and they're everywhere, especially when you're in Memphis or Chicago, St. Louis, these scenes that have these historic music histories.
What I really loved about the film is that, that this guy wasn't, out in the front. He was, a studio musician, and we've seen documentaries like The Wrecking Crew and other films that have focused on, either Motowns or the studio orchestra or the studio band. Tell us a little bit about your lead character, because he played it perfectly. I mean, he was right on the dot. I thought at first that he was the actual guy, that this was his story.
Yeah, so Curtis C. Jackson, the lead actor, is just like an angel or something. I mean, he's kind of one of these otherworldly people that in a lot of ways kind of is the guy. He would sit here and he'd tell you the same. He never quite figured out how to break through to that next level. He was out in LA for a long time, came back to Memphis. He's an amazingly talented actor who is also getting older, like he said in our Q&A. And so this was one of those things that just hit right at the perfect time. I wanted to make this project. We had already done some work together previously, and it just lined up. And so in a lot of ways, he is the character. So you're right in that feeling. And he's just a legend. He's been on X-Files. He's played all these bit parts. He's kind of like, in that way, in the acting world, he kind of is the character. And he's just, I say he's otherworldly because it was one of those experiences, and I haven't done anything of major note yet, but I now see why you hear directors talk about casting being directing, essentially. Because when you find the right person who can match the material, it's just like your job's basically done. You get there and you start shooting, and it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you're put this thing down on the table before you say this line, but you're not having to go in and really try to get a performance out of somebody, because they're the person.
What I really loved about the film too was the locations, the church, the bus, the the office where he goes to go find a job, and then of course the barbecue joint. I mean, you have 60, 70 plus barbecue joints here in Memphis. Everyone knows Rendezvous or Central Barbecue or Memphis Barbecue Company. So tell us a little bit about filming at Tops and what you had to do to say, hey, can we bring our cameras in?
Yeah, for me, the idea of Tops was if you know Memphis and Memphis Barbecue, it's Tops kind of is the barbecue restaurant of this character.
Right.
This guy would have been eating at Tops forever. It's no frills, it's no nonsense. Most of the Tops around town still look like they did in the late 70s or whatever. So they're sort of stuck in time, like this guy's stuck in time. So that aesthetically was just always the obvious way to go, and it was kind of this funny dream I had, like, man, I wonder if I can shoot in tops. Like, that would be so cool. And I was really nervous about it, and I'm a non-confrontational person by nature. So I thought, we'll just show up and we'll just kind of do it. And then as the production got closer, I was like, okay, I can't like have all these people come do this thing and not do my homework and at least try to get permission to shoot there. That would be really unfair and kind of stupid. So I just literally Googled tops, found the number to the headquarters, called it. Secretary answered. I gave a little tiny spiel about what I was trying to do. She said, yeah, 1 second, I'll patch you through to our CEO. So wait on hold for a second, some guy answers, and it's like the CEO of Tops Barbecue.
That's awesome.
And he was like, what are y'all trying to do now? And I said, I'm just independent filmmaker trying to shoot a really quick scene, no dialogue, it's just a guy eating a sandwich at Tops. He's like, yeah, that sounds fine, do whatever you want. And I was like, do you want me to send you any, contract or location agreement or anything? He's like, no, just go and whenever you want to go and just tell them I told you you could. So we did. And the crew at Tops that night, like the workers, were really excited. And of course, no one told them we were coming, even though he said, yeah, I'll tell the manager or whatever. So we just showed up. And originally that scene, I had envisioned it taking place outside, and I was going to have Curtis sitting at like a picnic table outside of that specific Tops because I knew I wanted that exact location. And it was freezing cold and raining. And Curtis and the DP, Drew, were like, we really should shoot this inside. And I originally wanted to shoot it outside because I thought it would just be easier,
right,
like from a production standpoint. And so we sort of pivoted and we shot inside. Now it's like my favorite 2 shots of the movie are like in Tops.
What is your other favorite shot?
The shot from the back of the bus, it's kind of like a transitional shot. I love that shot. Man, I love really probably my favorite shot of the whole movie, and it's very simple, but something about it just really pops, is the close-up of Curtis in the bed at the end. And it's just like kind of a dirty single where Wendy, the female character, is kind of in the bottom right of the frame and Curtis is there, but it's just the way Curtis's face is rendered, the distance from the lens and him and the background just made that a beautiful single that I just really like.
The whole bedroom scene was beautiful. You could tell the 2 characters cared about each other and they loved each other, and that she wanted to live, back in the day again. She wanted to hear him sing. And it was just such a sweet moment. I mean, that really ended the film correctly. Is there ideas to make this into a feature film? Because I would love to see, the backstory and where this guy was a studio, musician, and, what his life was like. He probably ate at Tops every night because he got off at work at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man. I mean, a script exists. Like I've written a feature about this, and that's the goal. So I actually had the idea for the feature before I wrote the short, and then sort of figured out a way to make a short version. So the short film, the events of the short take place about a year before the events in the feature do. But yeah, that's the goal. I think that this is feature worthy for sure, and I'm kind of at that point where that's the next step for me after 10 years of making shorts and pursuing this, and so I think it's the one, and I love the script, and hopefully I'll have some like really exciting news about that within the next few months.
That's awesome. One last question. You had to film this in Shelby County to get it into the Memphis Film Prize. So talk a little bit about, the importance of filming here in the Memphis area, because you not only utilized one of the top restaurants here in the city, but you had to get permission from the transit system to film on a city bus and the church. And tell us a little bit about why filmmakers should come to Shelby County and to, Memphis to film their feature, short, commercial, music video, whatnot.
Well, one, and like we talked about on the red carpet last night, there's just so much texture. There's so much to grab onto here that's never been filmed. It's just like you can point a camera in any direction and the city's just dripping with like amazing locations and textures and faces and places. And I think that's true all over the South. I grew up in Olive Branch, Mississippi, about 30 minutes from here. I'd love to film some stuff kind of in that area. I mean, anytime I visit any other major city or even other country area of the South, it's like, man, I got to get a camera down here and film something. I just think it's all so beautiful and in its own way. But then it's also like how accommodating people are in the South. I think that's something that filmmakers that make films here know that, but why I would like encourage anyone from anywhere to come film in the South is like, you can make a film that would cost 3 times as much, anywhere else in the South, just because people are excited and want to help and generally nice and hospitable. And
they'll open up their homes to you.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I can't count the number of times for this film and others where I've gone into a location and they've just like let us use it for free, or people want to help and do whatever they can. And for me, my family's here, I'm from here, I've got a network, so it's like a no-brainer. If I was in LA or something, I could never make any of the work that I've made. It would never happen. So